We are live for Thursday night football. We got a good one tonight, a divisional battle. We got the Dallas Cowboys traveling to the New York Giants. We are going to talk about everything you could possibly need to know about this game. We're going to talk about the fantasy start sits. We got a good free player prop tonight. Went 0 for 2 on Sunday, but we have not missed on a Thursday night yet. We're going to try to keep that streak going tonight. I got a good one that I like. We got a good start sit here in the TikTok live. Tolbert, Mooney, or Leggett. Yeah, I think you kind of have to go Mooney there. Leggett's definitely sneaky. Definitely a sneaky sleeper, especially with Deontay. He was limited. I think he missed actually practice today with a groin injury. Sounds like it's not going to be serious. But I think you got to go Mooney over Tolbert tonight. Tolbert has been involved. Let me share a screen here on the YouTube live. We're live on TikTok and YouTube right now, guys. On the YouTube live is where you want to be because we're about to share a screen to everything we're going to be talking about on the live stream. We're going to look through basically every single player tonight. All right, so let's get right to it. Let me break down each side of this game first. We're going to get to, so here's the plan. Next 10 minutes, I'm going to break down all my thoughts on the game. All my main thoughts for both teams. We'll do 5 minutes in the Giants, 5 minutes in the Cowboys. I'll give you what I think is going to happen in this game. And then I'll give you a quick overview of the must starts, the maybe starts, and the definite, absolutely definite benches. And I think there's a couple definite benches that are pretty clear tonight. All right, so let's talk about the Giants side of the ball. The only player on the Giants that you can really feel good in your starting lineup tonight is Malik Nabers. I think that's pretty clear. He is the only must-start player on the Giants. I have Devin Singletary in the maybe start category. We're going to get there in a second. I see Singletary questions already in the chat. Happy Thursday night, everyone. By the way, we got a great week 4 ahead of us. It's going to be a fun Thursday night game as well. All right, so Malik Nabers is already a top 10 fantasy football wide receiver. Guys, he has the second most fantasy points of all receivers. He's number 2. 22.8 fantasy points per game. He's top 15 in yards per route run. He's top 3 in yards per reception. You cannot play man coverage against Malik Nabers or you will get burned. Now he did get a matchup against the Commanders in here. That is skewing things a little bit. He had a 67% target share in that game last week. That did fall back down to earth, but that's okay. Still a 36% target share for Nabers. Again, the only guy with a true floor in this offense is Malik Nabers. And he obviously got an elite ceiling too. The Giants, they're 5-point underdogs in this game. I think the Giants have a pretty good chance to get smoked in this game, which also might bode well for Malik Nabers if this turns into a pass-heavy game for him. He's a must-start in most situations. He ranks as our wide receiver 10 this week, guys. Definitely start Malik Nabers in basically all situations. Daniel Jones has quietly actually been okay. 15 fantasy points per game. He has the 6th most pass attempts in the league. He's been over 18 fantasy points in back-to-back games. Again, one of those was against the Commanders, but last week against the Browns, 19 points. He's been a top 12 quarterback back-to-back weeks. He's got 4 passing touchdowns his last 2 games. He also has over a 22% rush share in every game. He's not a horrible dart, though, especially in Superflex leagues. The problem for him historically has been the fumbles. He hasn't fumbled this entire season. He does have 2 picks, but no picks the last 2 games. Do you think he'll be under constant duress in this one for sure? No need to spam in the comments, guys. We're going to get to hundreds of start-sit comments on this live stream. Guys, if you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. I'm sharing screen to all the players we're talking about. And we're going to talk about every single player in this game and whether you should start or sit. And then we also are going to get to some specific comments, hundreds of them, in the back half of this live. All right, so for the Giants side of the ball, only start Malik Nabers. Yeah, smash the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. We're going to get to Rico Dowdle here in a second, Owen. But right now we're on the Giants. Devin Singletary. I expect a lot of Devin Singletary start-sits tonight, and I understand it. Especially with some of the running back injuries, especially with some of the running back question marks this week. Is Kenneth Walker going to play? Kenneth Walker doesn't play till Monday, guys. I don't think we're going to get any clarity on the Kenneth Walker situation until Monday, most likely. I bet he's going to be questionable for the game. So Devin Singletary versus Kenneth, I'd probably lean Singletary in a situation like that. I do not think you should bank on Kenneth Walker playing this week. We do have a free player prop coming up in about 10 minutes here after I talk through the Cowboys side of the ball, because the free player prop is on the Cowboys side of the ball. Singletary's had a decent floor so far this season, over 9 points in all 3 games. I understand the interest in starting him. He's been out there a ton, over 65% of the snaps, all 3 games. He's kind of getting like somewhat workhorse usage. He's had at least a target in every game. He's had at least 4 targets in 2 of his 3 games. He's getting decent rushing volume in the games when they're close. He has exactly 16 carries in back-to-back games. He is a startable player. Singletary was actually on my do not draft list. One of the guys that's aging the worst on that do not draft list has been Devin Singletary. He has looked fine, and he has scored 2 touchdowns. And he hasn't been as touchdown dependent as I expected him to be. I thought Tyrone Tracy would be more involved as a receiver than he has been. That being said, Tyrone Tracy did play the most he's played last week, and he played pretty well. It'll be interesting to see how that goes tonight. But yeah, Singletary's a high floor, low ceiling play. That's what he is. High floor, low ceiling. He's probably going over 9 points. You look at the matchup for him against the Cowboys, and it's hard not to get a little excited. Derrick Henry was the RB3 in week 3. Alvin Kamara was the RB1 in week 2 against the Cowboys, and Jerome Ford, he was a top 12 running back when he played the Cowboys too. So we've seen the Cowboys allow a top 12 running back three times in 3 games. They've allowed a top 3 running back in the last 2. That being said, they played Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara. That's not what Devin Singletary is. I think he's more of a Jerome Ford. Still, it gives him maybe a top 12 ceiling. So yeah, I lean towards starting Devin Singletary in a lot of spots, especially the questionable ones. I think he's the best, maybe worth it guy, but he's not a must start. The only must start in the Giants is Malik Neighbors. But I'm going to tell a lot of people to start him when we get to the start take comments here. Hundreds of them coming up here in a few minutes. All right. No one else is startable here, guys. Do not start Wan'Dale Robinson. I repeat, do not start Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale Robinson is in the Greg Dortch role. He's in the Ray McCloud role where he's not getting any air yards. The air yards for Wan'Dale Robinson are near 0 every single game. And the targets look interesting. He's got 2 games now with at least 8 targets. You look at that on the surface, you're like, ooh, maybe I can sneak him in a PPR league. But what's the ceiling for Wan'Dale? There's no ceiling because all of his targets are right around the line of scrimmage. Just absolutely no ceiling. And the floor is really low. I think we haven't even seen the real floor here for Wan'Dale. He's had at least 9 points in every game. The targets do prop up his floor a little bit. I have no interest in Wan'Dale, though, in this matchup. And then you look at the matchup here, on paper, how the other receivers have done. Weatherman Sam is coming out here in a second because there's some weather report in the game. I saw that some news about that. There hasn't really been a great receiver game against this Cowboys defense other than Rashid Shaheed in week 2. None of the slot receivers. Elijah Moore at 3.9. Elijah Moore is in a very similar role to Wan'Dale Robinson. Olave is the guy playing a little bit more in the slot for the Saints. He only had 12 points, 12.8 against the Cowboys. And then last week, Zay Flowers did nothing against the Cowboys. I don't think Wan'Dale is a startable player in fantasy. We got him ranked as wide receiver 50. Hopefully, you can do better than wide receiver 50. Darius Slayton, hopefully he's not even on your team. Tyrone Tracy, I'm excited to watch tonight, but he's off the fantasy radar for sure. Theo Johnson, he's running wind sprints out there, well off the fantasy radar. All right, that's the Giants. Do not start the Giants defense either. I do think they could get an interesting amount of sacks potentially in this game. They did have 13 points last week against the Browns, but we haven't seen a defense get more than 8 points against this Cowboys offense. The Cowboys offense, by the way, the Cowboys team, they've been in some high-scoring games. I actually think they have been in the highest-scoring game so far across the league. All right. That's the Giants. Let's get to the Cowboys. Then we're going to get to the free player prop. Then we're going to get to all the comments. CeeDee Lamb, he ranks as wide receiver 2 this week. I think a great argument that he's still wide receiver 1. I do expect him to bounce back. There's two nickel corners out for the Giants in this game. Their starting nickel corner and their backup nickel corner are out. We've seen this at times last season. When you have to go to the practice squad for the corners, you just get torched, especially if you're up against a guy like CeeDee Lamb. I do expect him to operate a lot out of the slot tonight. This is probably going to be the best CeeDee Lamb game of the season so far. I think he's going over 20 fantasy points tonight. He's locked and loaded as a top 3 wide receiver option for this week. I still think there's a real argument. I know he hasn't done great so far this season, that CeeDee Lamb, if we were redrafting in fantasy today, he should be the first overall pick in those drafts. I still think there's a real argument for that. I think there's a good argument for Justin Jefferson there too. But I think it's debatable between those 2 guys. I think you could even maybe get in Saquon Barkley in that conversation too. I think it's probably between those 3. Yeah, you got to be starting CeeDee Lamb tonight, of course. And then for the other Giants, the other Cowboys players, I do think Dak's an okay start. Definitely an okay start. He's QB 10 for us. We start him over a bunch of different quarterbacks. Brandon Aubrey, by the way, he's just broken fantasy football. He's got more points than basically every single tight end combined. Literally. That might actually be true. Take the top 2 tight ends, combine their points. I think Brandon Aubrey might have more points than them. He's at 16.3 points per game, guys. Absolutely ridiculous stuff here from Aubrey. He's at least 11 points in every game. I mean, it has been the season of kickers, if we're being honest. Obviously, you're starting him. Jake Ferguson is the only other must start really in this game. It's CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, and Malik Neighbors. These are the only must starts that we don't really need to discuss much. But Jake Ferguson, a notable 11 targets last week. They threw the ball a ton last week, only a 22% target share, but 11 targets is a very, very good sign for Jake Ferguson. He played also 66% of the snaps. That was good to see in his first game back. You got to think it's going to be at least that much if this game is close. So Jake Ferguson is the top 5 tight end this week. Guys, the tight end position, I've never seen it so bleak. And we've seen some bleak tight end landscapes. I mean, it is bleak out there, man. There's no Trey McBride this week. There's probably no Sam Laporta this week. There's probably no Evan Ingram this week. George Kittle is questionable. I don't think he's going to play, but we'll see about Kittle. Andrews is really not startable in this moment. You got David Njoku. He got a limited practice in today, but he's on the wrong side of questionable. I mean, I just listed 5 of the top 8 tight ends, guys, that might not play this week. Absolutely crazy. Jake Ferguson, top 4 tight end for us in the Walter Pick. I actually think there's a real shot Jake Ferguson ends this week as tight end 1. So, yeah, you got to start Jake Fergo. And then for Dak, let me tell you the quarterbacks I'm starting over Dak. Josh Allen, Kyler, Jaden Daniels, Lamar, Stroud, Jalen Hurts, Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Geno Smith. That's it. I think you could consider Jordan Love. I don't think I'd start Jordan Love, though, over Dak. Vikings defense has actually been pretty good. I don't think I'd play Purdy, Darnold, Mayfield, Fields, any of these guys over Dak. So not a horrible spot for Dak if you need a quarterback. Let's get to the running backs here, though, for the Cowboys, because the other, maybe start tonight, I think pretty clearly a maybe start is Rico Dowdle. He ranks as a top 30 running back for us in the Walter Picks app this week. He really hasn't had a good game yet. Hasn't cleared 10 fantasy points in a single game. But you look at the matchup here for him against the Giants, hard not to get too excited here. Aaron Jones was a top 10 running back against the Giants. Brian Robinson and Eckler, they combined over 25 points against the Giants. Last week, Jerome Ford didn't do much, but the Browns' offensive line is an absolute joke. I mean, the Browns' offense is a joke. So we've seen 2 very good running back performances against the Giants' defense so far. And the Giants' defense is also, they've allowed almost a fourth of the carries against the Giants have gained 10 or more yards. That is the highest rate in the league. This is per Sharp Football Analysis. Almost 25% of the carries against the Giants. I'll repeat this just one more time for the people on the TikTok live who aren't on the better viewing experience of the YouTube live, which is the same live, guys. If you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube live. Link is in the TikTok bio. You would see Rico Dowdle's game logs on screen. You would see the statistic I'm reading to you right now. almost 25% of the carries against the New York Football Giants have gained 10 or more yards. That is, I think, by far the highest rate in the league. So I do actually feel pretty good about Rico Dowdle tonight. I think if you're in a pinch, like Rico Dowdle versus Kenneth Walker, for example, I've already seen some Kenneth Walker start-sit comments. We're going to get to the comments here in a second, by the way. I think it's not that crazy to go Rico Dowdle. I think there's a decent chance Kenneth sits on Monday night. And those practices, we're probably not going to be confirmed Kenneth in for a little while. Some of the other running backs you might be considering over over Rico Dowdle. I'd play Aaron Jones over him, Najee Montgomery. I'd play Ramondre over him. I'd play Pollard, Moss. I don't know if I'd play Kenneth over him. We got Kenneth projected in right now. I don't know if I'd take that risk. ETN, I think you kind of have to play him over Dowdle. Jerome Ford spotted at Thursday's practice. He was a DNP on Wednesday. That's not great. He gets the Raiders, though. I think that is actually a pretty good matchup for Ford. He played really bad last week, but the usage went back up. That one's pretty close. I'd probably lean Ford. Singletary versus Dowdle, I actually think is really, really close. I think if you're going for the ceiling, it's Dowdle. But yeah, you probably have to go Singletary just based on volume alone over Dowdle. And then Dobbins, this is, I think, a tough matchup for Dobbins against the Chiefs. He just had a tough matchup against the Steelers. We saw how that went, 8.4 points. I probably would go, oh man, no running backs have done well here against the Chiefs. Honestly, looking a little deeper at this, they're 8-point underdogs in this game too. I think I would go Dowdle over Dobbins. And then I would play Dowdle over everyone else under him. Playing Dowdle over DeAndre Swift. You cannot start DeAndre Swift. Playing him over Javonte Williams, over Samaje Perine. I'm playing him over Cordell Patterson, Tajay Spears. Zamir White hopefully is not on your roster anymore. Zeke, I'm playing him over Zeke easily. Guys, Zeke couldn't be more dust. And maybe a matchup against the Giants, get Zeke going, maybe. But he had six yards last week, guys. He had 6 rushing yards, 6 receiving yards. He played less than 20% of the snaps. Less than 20% of the snaps for Zeke. It seems like the Cowboys understand he's dust. He's been dust for multiple years. I don't know how they didn't realize this before they signed Ezekiel Elliott, because he's been under 4 yards per carry for 3 years now. He's at 3.3 this season. So yeah, I think we see a lot of Dowdle in a pretty plus matchup, which is why a long segue into the free player prop pick of the day here. It's Rico Dowdle, over 40.5 rushing yards. I like that a lot tonight. The Rico Dowdle prop, you can find this basically everywhere. It's actually at 38.5 on FanDuel. So if you have FanDuel, check out that one. We're 7-4 on the free props on this live. We did go 0-2 on Sunday, but we're undefeated, I believe, on the Thursday nights. We actually lucked out a little bit last Thursday with the Antonio Gibson garbage time usage, but we'll take it. We will take it. We're gonna have enough bad beats that we'll take the lucky ones too. I really just like the matchup here and the usage we saw last week from Dowdle slowly increasing while Zeke is decreasing. He's had at least 7 carries in every game, and then it was really this stat that got me over the edge to take the Dowdle line. Again, almost 25% of the runs against the Giants have gained 10 or more yards. That's the highest rate in the league. They're allowing big rushing plays. Dowdle can have some big runs in this game. Jake Ferguson needs to be started, guys. He had 11 targets last week. He had 11 targets last week. Seeing some questions on the TikTok live. Why start Jake Ferguson? What other tight end are you going to start over him? There's only 3 tight ends I think you could argue over Jake Ferguson this week. Goddard, Kincaid, and Kelsey. And even those guys. I mean, Bowers, you could argue. Kittle might not play. Can't argue him over Ferguson. Kyle Pitts, we're not playing him over Ferguson. I mean, even Kelsey and Kincaid, I feel like, are a little bit sketchier. Maybe a slightly higher ceiling, but not even over Ferguson. Like, Goddard's really the only guy that I think you can compellingly argue is a better play than Ferguson this week. And they haven't done great against tight ends. I mean, they haven't been bad against tight ends, the Giants. But look at the tight ends they played. Johnny Munt, Josh Oliver, Zach Ertz had 10 points. Jordan Akins had 7 points last week. These are the tight ends that the Giants have played so far, who are without 2 of their starting nickel corners. Singletary or Pollard. Yeah, that one's actually super close. Super, super close. Pollard's usage has been good. Pollard also has a better matchup, I think, this week. As we transition, I'm going to give you my thoughts on, again, who's going to win the game here in a second. I think you got to play Pollard, man, over Singletary. Like, live a little bit. Play Pollard over Singletary. Cowboys really been 32nd against running backs. Man, you look at the matchup for Singletary and Tyrone Tracy tonight. The Cowboys have been crushed by running backs. Absolutely obliterated by running backs. Top 3 running back performance in back-to-back games. That being said, they did play Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara. So you don't want to overweight these early season points against numbers based on who they've played. But Jerome Ford was also a top 12 running back in week 1. Pollard gets the Dolphins. They also have been a pretty good matchup, I believe, for running backs this season. Yeah, James Cook popped off. Zach Sharp popped off. They've allowed 2 top 10 performances back-to-back weeks too. I think I lean Pollard over Singletary, but it's definitely close. And part of the reason I lean Pollard over Singletary too is I do think Tyrone Tracy is going to continue to mix in tonight. And Tyrone Tracy, I think, might just become the preferred pass-catching running back in this backfield. That's what I expected heading into the season. That's not what it was the first 2 weeks. But last week, Tyrone Tracy was up to a 30% snap percentage, highest this season. He had 2 targets, ran a route on 27% of pass plays. Those were season highs. I think he might just be a better receiving back than Devin Singletary. And I also think there's a decent chance the Cowboys blow the Giants to smithereens tonight. This game might not be close very early in this game. And if that happens, that's probably good for Tyrone Tracy and very bad for Devin Singletary. So yeah, I lean Pollard over Singletary. I think that one's close. All right. That is my thoughts on the game. Let's get to the start, sit comments. Guys, I'm going to prioritize the Thursday night start sits. If you've got start sit questions that don't involve Thursday night players, go to the Walter Picks app, check them out there. The link to the Walter Picks app, it's a free app that can help you with your start sits in the YouTube description, in the TikTok bio. But we're going to prioritize the tough Thursday night start sits here. All right, hey, Sam, Akers or Sharp? Yeah, Tony, not a Thursday night start sit. A Dowdle, Stevenson, White, Pittman, Garrett Wilson, Dobbins. Choose one. Oh, man. To bench. Also, I just traded Devontae and Chuba for Spears and Nico. Yeah, love that. Love that. Nico's a great buy right now. He was just popped up in the injury report, which never is great to see midweek, but he's set to smash if he plays this week. And yeah, I don't think Dowdle's a start in this start state question. I think it's probably still Garrett Wilson, honestly. It's Stevenson or Garrett Wilson, I think, here. I think I'd probably go Garrett Wilson over Dowdle, even in the tough matchup. Should I trade J.K. Dobbins and Pickens for Ayuk and Singletary or ETN? Yes, I would do this and take ETN, I think, over Singletary still. Got Cowboys on waivers. Do I pick them up and drop the Colts? Top streaming defenses this week. Yeah, so I do like the Cowboys defense tonight. I do. Let's go to the defenses here on the YouTube live. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. Come to the YouTube live if you want the better viewing experience. The link is in the TikTok bio. If you're watching live on YouTube, smash the like button. The YouTube live, really quick. I love both live, by the way. Shout out to everybody in this live stream. It's a fantastic Thursday night. I got a couple more stats to show you, by the way, about this matchup between the Cowboys and the Giants. Part of the reason I think the Cowboys are probably to crush the New York Football Giants. But yeah, I do like the Cowboys defense. We got them ranked as the number 3 defense option this week in the Walter Picks app. They had 22 points back in week 1. They didn't do great. The Giants, the Vikings defense had 22 points against the Giants in week 1. The Browns and the Commanders didn't do great the last 2 weeks. Obviously, the Commanders didn't do great. That's not surprising. The Browns defense not doing great was a little bit surprising. But yeah, I do like the Cowboys defense tonight. You look at the game logs here for the Cowboys defense. Last 2 weeks have been brutal. They had 17 points in week 1, though, against the Browns. I think the Cowboys are a pretty good defensive play tonight. I do. They don't have to play Alvin Kamara or Derrick Henry tonight. I don't think the Giants defense is in play. The Raiders, they get the Browns. Oh man, this is a good streaming defense. I mean, the Browns have been a joke, an absolute joke offensively. I mean, look at this. Texans defense, I think they actually are available in a bunch of leagues too. They get the Jaguars this week. They've also been a joke. Texans defense kind of underrated. I also like the Vikings defense. Vikings defense, I think, has been one of the most underrated defenses in the NFL heading into the season. Look at this. They've been over 10 points every single week. And they played 2 good offenses here, the Vikings. I like two sometimes streaming defenses where, like, a Dallas defense versus Vikings defense. Honestly, it's kind of close. I mean, they get a tough matchup with the Packers. They get the Jets the following week, then the bye. I think I do lean the Cowboys, but man, hard not to get excited looking at these game logs for the Vikings and think this might just be one of those defenses that you can play against any team. I'm also not fully convinced we see Jordan Love play this week. I think that's definitely still pretty up in the air. There's no need to spam. Absolutely no need to spam in the YouTube live. No need to spam in the TikTok live either. I'm going to get to hundreds of comments. We're going to talk about every single player. Dowdle or Bucky Irving. Yes, Bucky Irving didn't practice today. All this hype for Bucky Irving, didn't even practice today. Sounds like he said he's going to play, but I don't know how you could have Bucky Irving over Dowdle right now in your lineup if he didn't practice today. I don't think you can do that. I'm so excited to see Neighbors play tonight. Yeah, I'm pumped to see Neighbors play tonight too. Every night that you get to see Neighbors is a good night. He's a top 10 wide receiver so far this season, guys. He's number 2 in fantasy points per game. We were on it last week too with the man coverage stuff. I don't think the Cowboys can play much man coverage tonight. You can't really play man coverage against Neighbors. You're just going to get cooked. Traded away Hill and Moore to acquire Neighbors and Pickens. Fields looking much better. Yeah, it's reasonable. I mean, I don't love Pickens compared to Moore. I don't know about this one, honestly. I guess Neighbors is definitely the best receiver in this trade, but he's not once Tua comes back, if Tua comes back. What's wrong with Wandale? Yes, the problem with Wandale is he's in that Elijah Moore role. I really call it the Wandale role, so I don't know what to call it. He's in the Wandale role. That's the problem. The problem is he's in the Wandale Robinson role. That's really the definition of the role is the Wandale role. And there's just not really an exciting ceiling in this role. There is like an okay floor in the role. You know, if you want to try to lock in at least 7 points, he's probably going to get there. But he has basically no chance at over 20 points unless he has some massive after-the-catch play because he's getting no aerials. This is the problem. His targets, not all targets are created equal, guys. It matters how deep your targets are. The deeper the target, the more valuable the target. You know, the more opportunity for a touchdown and a big play, which is where the fantasy points come from. Wandale doesn't get those. Wandale runs 3 yards down the field, and then he turns around. And that's it. So there's just not an exciting ceiling with Wandale. Not an exciting ceiling. Start Ferguson or take a chance with Kittle playing? Nope, not taking that chance. Absolutely not. Ferguson's in a great spot tonight. Why would you take the chance? I mean, like, is the ceiling for Kittle really that much higher than the ceiling for Ferguson? I really don't think it is. If anything, they're like the same ceiling. Like, I guess Kittle has like a pretty high ceiling. If Kittle is like truly, at 100%, then sure, his ceiling's probably higher than Ferguson. Kittle has an astronomical ceiling. We've seen it at times. But even if Kittle plays, guys, even if Kittle plays, even if George Kittle plays, is he going to be playing his full role? Coming off the hamstring injury against the Patriots, which is a game they should handle easily. I think there's a lot of risk even if Kittle plays. And Ferguson has got really good floor tonight, I think. He had 11 targets last week. The Giants are without their number 1 nickel corner and their number 2 nickel corner. They have 0 nickel corners. They're calling up a nickel corner from the practice squad tonight. So yeah, I definitely would. I'd be playing Ferguson. The only case really where I think you definitely shouldn't play Ferguson is if you have Dallas Goedert. If you have Dallas Goedert, that's fine. Start Dowdle or Dobbins. Yeah, I lean Dowdle over Dobbins. We were just talking about that one. Ferg or Bowers. Yeah, I'm going Ferguson over Bowers. We got him one spot ahead over Bowers this week. I think that one's pretty close. Yeah, honestly, starting both these guys over him is not that unreasonable. At least these guys have a real ceiling. Let's check this one out. We do have Wandale over Tolbert. Not going to be able to spell this guy's name. Here we go. Yoshabas. Yeah, Wandale projects the best. Yoshabas kind of a low projection here. He's coming off a good game. Might have to get this projection up a little bit. Yeah, he's had at least 11% target share. 2 games over 18% target share. Gets the Panthers, though. Tolbert's back-to-back games over 13 points. Like you look at the air yards here. Look at the air yards real quick. Look at the air yards for Tolbert. Over 100 and then 116. And then you compare that to Wandale, and he hasn't even cracked 50. He cracked 50 in week 1, under 25 the last 2 weeks. So yeah, I think I lean towards Tolbert for the ceiling, Wandale for the floor. It's a floor ceiling choice. I think Tolbert's got a higher ceiling personally. I lean Tolbert personally if I had to make that choice. PPR league though, I mean definitely Wandale has a better floor. Brandon Cooks or Allen Lazard. Oh gosh, man. I think you got to go Cooks. Yeah, that Jets game I think is going to be really low scoring. Start Wandale, Braylon Allen, or wait to see Pierce or Mixon. Don't play and start Akers. Yeah, it does seem like it's trending towards Pierce and Mixon not playing. I think Akers actually has a decent matchup this week, but there's still a chance one of those guys plays. I mean, a little surprising. I would definitely be playing Dowdle over Braylon Allen, Braylon Allen's been great, especially for my best ball teams where I don't have to make those start-sit decisions. But he's still a backup running back in a kind of a gross matchup with the Broncos. Cam Akers projects the best here. Oh, man. This is a really tough one. I think I would just go Dowdle because I think there's still a good floor-ceiling combo for Dowdle tonight. The Giants, again, they've been bad on the ground. Dowdle's actually the free player prop of the night, over 40 rushing yards. I think he easily goes over that tonight. I think that there's a chance Dowdle could get 100 rushing yards in this game. It's not out of the question because the Giants' run defense really has not been good. Almost 25% of the runs against the Giants have gained 10 or more yards. That's the highest rate in the entire NFL. Sam, weird trade question. Rank them. Tank, Higgins, Terry, Worthy, PPR. Yeah, I mean, I think these middle 2 guys probably rank best. It's probably honestly, I think I'd probably go Higgins, Terry, Tank, then Worthy. I think that's how I would rank them. Higgins, Terry, Tank, then Worthy. I wonder what our rest of season rankings say. Definitely recommend checking out the rest of season rankings in the Walter Picks app. Ferguson or Goddard. Yeah, that's really the only one. That's the only one. The only tight end question that we're going to see tonight where I'm going to say, yeah, it's definitely Goddard over Ferg. There's no Devontae Smith this week. There's no A.J. Brown this week. Goddard's coming off a tight end 1 performance, and the Bucs just aren't that scary of a defense this season. So yeah, I think you got to play Goddard. He's tight end 1 this week. Goddard is tight end 1 this week with all the tight ends injured. No Trey McBride, no Sam Laporta, no David Njoku, no Evan Ingram. George Kittle's questionable. Wild stuff at the tight end position. Man, you got to be starting Ferguson in all spots unless you have Dallas Goedert. Dak or Murray, yeah, it's Kyler easily. Guys, Kyler gets the Commanders this week. We're not even going to be discussing Kyler this week because it's just too much of a layup. Daniels or Stroud? Oh, man. Yeah, not a Thursday night question. I think Daniels, though. Kylo, how we doing, man? What's up, Sam? Hope all is well with you, too. Is it just one prop, or do you like anyone else besides Rico? And would you bet on someone to go over their fantasy score? And if so, who? Yeah, I like Dowdle over the fantasy score as well. The official play tonight is just Rico Dowdle. I do like Ferguson and Lamb tonight a little bit, too. On the Giants side of the ball, if I was going to take anyone, I think it would be Tyrone Tracy, receiving stuff. I don't hate that either. I do think they have those set pretty low. Those places that have the lines. I don't hate his fantasy prop either for Tyrone Tracy. I think there's a good chance the Giants get crushed in this game. Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson. Oh, my goodness. Here we are. It's week 4. And this is a fantastic, fantastic question. So glad we got an A-Rich question on this wonderful Thursday night. Because Anthony Richardson, guys, just straight up cannot be started. Like, he just cannot be started. And, like, I still think there's a ceiling here with Anthony Richardson. I still think Anthony Richardson is one of the best goal line players in the NFL. You know, like Jalen Hurts, Derrick Henry, Anthony Richardson. Like, he's in the conversation, I think, you know, when you're within the 3-yard line of players you would want running the ball to score a touchdown. That's about the only good thing you can say about Anthony Richardson right now. And then you look at the matchup, and yeah, you just cannot start. You just cannot start Anthony Richardson. It is Daniel Jones over Anthony Richardson week, man. And the Steelers have been good, really good. The Steelers at defense has already been the best defense in the NFL, guys. Kirk went under 10 points. Bo Nix barely scored 10. Herbert and Heineke combined for 10. I mean, Richardson could easily go under 10, probably will go under 10 this week if he keeps it up. And Daniel Jones has, like, sneakily been usable. So, yeah, it's Daniel Jones for sure. Guys, if you're just joining the YouTube live, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok, smash the follow button, and then come over to the YouTube live. The YouTube live is a better viewing experience than the TikTok live. I can share my screen. I can pull comments up on screen. Again, smash the like. Let's get over 100 likes in this YouTube live. It's a great Thursday night. Hey, Sam, just a follow-up. Hope you're doing great. Dowdle, Dobbins, White, Pittman, and McLaurin. Choose 4. Oh, it was a bench 1 question. My bad. Yeah, I think you got to bench Dowdle in that one. I'm playing Pittman, though. Let's actually do Dowdle versus Pittman. I don't feel good about any of the Colts patch catchers right now. I think Pittman's probably still a guy you got to start over him in PPR leagues. Yeah. Wow, this one's actually super, super close. Super, super close. I did not think it was going to be this close between Pittman and Dowdle. The Colts are down bad, man. The pass game for the Colts is down so bad. We have not seen a single really good receiver performance. Yeah, no, I'm going Dowdle. I'm going straight up Dowdle over Pittman. Bench Pittman. Way better floor here. Look at the floor difference here between Dowdle and Pittman. Yeah, and the ceiling's honestly not even that much different against the Steelers. What do I do with Mark Andrews? This is what you do. You go into your shower, you turn the shower on, and you just cry for 5-10 minutes. That's really all you can do right now with Mark Andrews. There's not much you can do. What are you supposed to do? Because you really can't start him. I really do not think you can start him. I think it's not a situation where you can start him. And you definitely can't drop him. I'm not dropping Mark Andrews. Absolutely not. And you absolutely can't trade him. Who's going to trade for him? He ranks as tight end 8 this week. Oh, gosh. I mean, the tight end landscape is just so bleak that you might have to start him. You might have to if you don't have one of these guys, which you probably don't. But yeah, that's what you got to do with Andrews. There's nothing to do. You probably have to start him in a lot of leagues. Like, I'm not playing Brock Wright over Mark Andrews. I'm not playing Elijah Higgins over Andrews, even though I'm kind of intrigued by Elijah Higgins with McBride out. I'm not playing Noah Fant over Andrews. So many of these tight ends that you're going to be considering over Andrews, they also have a 0-point floor. And I don't think what we saw from Andrews is going to be an every week thing, but it's very, very concerning. It's absolutely not normal what we saw from Andrews. All right, let me give you a couple more stats about the game tonight. So first of all, for all the people just joined the YouTube live, the free player prop tonight, it is Rico Dowdle over 40.5 rushing yards. Like this one a lot. We're undefeated on Thursday Night Live with the free props. I just saw Laporta or Ferguson question the TikTok live. Guys, don't bench Ferguson unless you have Dallas Goedert. That's basically the blanket advice. Like Kelsey, you can consider over Ferguson, Kincaid. I think there's a conversation to have there. But yeah, I'm still probably going Ferguson over both those guys. He had 11 targets last week. I like the Rico Dowdle line a lot. 1, because the Giants defense has been terrible. 2, because Ezekiel Elliott looked completely washed. He had a season low snap percentage last week. He might barely play tonight. Might be just a matchup against the Giants makes Ezekiel look okay too. I think either way, though, Dowdle's going to have some big runs in this game. Almost 25% of the runs against the Giants this season have gained 10 or more yards. That is the highest rate in the entire NFL. On top of that, you look at some of the history of this matchup, guys. Dak Prescott has won 12 consecutive games against the New York Giants. You heard that right, Giants fans. That's probably not too surprising to you. Dak Prescott, he has a 12-2 career record against the Giants. He's won his last 12. He started 0-2. Then he ripped off 12 straight. This is going to be his 13th straight win against the Giants when he wins tonight. I think that this is going to be a really lopsided game. I would be pretty shocked if the Giants just straight up came in here and blew out the Cowboys too. Like in the world where the Giants win this game, it's a close game. In the world where the Cowboys win this game, it might not be close. I'm okay going Dowdle over Akers with the uncertainty of Akers' situation. And also, Akers didn't look that great last week. It's a better matchup for him this week. But he didn't even score 10 points with a touchdown last week. Wan'Dale Robinson for the Giants or Kirk/Addison. Yeah, 100% you're going Christian Kirk here. Should I drop Ezekiel Elliott? Yes, drop Zeke. Drop Zeke. Zeke he's at 3.3 yards per carry. Should I start Hubbard or Dowdle? I think that one's Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard had a massive role last week, guys. He's actually in a really good spot. Ranks at the top 20 running back for us this week in the Walter Picks app. He had 28 points. He was a top 5 running back last week. Only played 58% of the snaps, but he saw almost 70% of the carries. And he has had back-to-back weeks with 5 targets. These Dave Canales offenses, they run through the running backs. All right, we got to pick 2 here. Dowdle, D-Hop, or Brian Thomas Jr. half PPR. Thanks for the scoring setting, by the way. Guys, scoring settings matter a ton. This is part of the reason the Walter Picks app is so powerful. But you got to download it. If you haven't downloaded it yet, I do not know what you're waiting for. Link is in the YouTube description. Link is in the TikTok bio. But part of the reason the Walter Picks app is so powerful for fantasy football is it understands your custom league scoring settings. And so many times with these start-sit questions, I don't know what the scoring settings are, so I just assume they're PPR. If you don't tell me, I'm assuming it's PPR. But yeah, Dowdle, D-Hop, Brian Thomas Jr., half PPR. This one's actually probably pretty close. Let's check this one out in the app. Dowdle, I got to switch to half PPR here. I do like the half PPR and non-PPR. It shifts massively towards the running backs, which is why I think this one's actually probably pretty close. Hopkins is definitely startable after last week, but I wouldn't put him in must-start territory. And yeah, you got to bench Hop. Bench D-Hop against the Dolphins. D-Hop did pop off against the Dolphins last season. I was actually at that game last season. But yeah, I'm going Dowdle over Hop. And I honestly don't think Dowdle over Brian Thomas is that crazy either. I think Dowdle has the best floor of these 3 guys, especially in a half PPR format. Again, I think Dowdle's going over 40 rushing yards tonight, and I think he has got a much higher ceiling than that tonight, too, against the Giants' run defense. Hey, Sam, happy Thursday. Happy Thursday to you as well. We got a fantastic football game on our TV screens in just a couple of hours. All right, we got Singletary, Steele, or Braylon Allen in a half PPR league. Oh, man. Yeah, I think you bench Braylon Allen here. Again, that Jets-Broncos game is going to be gross. I'm okay going Steele here. Kareem Hunt's going to be playing this week, though. Let's actually see. Steele versus Allen is actually pretty close. Both guys are pretty sketchy to me. I definitely would be playing Singletary over both of them. I'd play Dowdle over Singletary, I think, too, by the way. Actually, I think I said Singletary over Dowdle. It's one of the last guys I'd play over Dowdle. Better floor for Singletary, for sure. The Cowboys defense also has been bad in the run game, by the way. Yeah, I think this one's really tough for me. Matchup against the Chargers. The Chiefs are 8-point favorites in this game. I think the biggest favorites of the week. Chargers defense is also potentially missing 2 of their core pieces. They've been pretty good against running backs. Haven't played the best running backs, though. I believe the Broncos defense has been pretty decent. This one's a tough one. I personally lean Steele, I think, a little bit over Braylon Allen, but it's definitely really close. I really just don't want guys in that Jets-Broncos game. I think it could be one of the lowest scoring games of the week. 2025 first and 2026 first for 2025 second and Debo in Dynasty. I am a fan of trading back in Dynasty leagues in general. I trust my ability to be better in the draft than all of my league mates. Like, I trust my ability to find good players in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. I generally value the 2nd and 3rd round picks more than other people in my Dynasty leagues. I don't hate trading for Debo, too. You're 2-1. It's kind of a win now move and a trade back. I would see if you get another 2nd or 3rd, though, here. I bet you could. People value these first, like, a lot. Ferguson or Goddard. Yeah, Goddard over Ferg. All the other tight ends, though, basically under Ferg this week. Saquon for Bijan and K9, I have Cook, 8-man league. Yeah, it's a fair trade. I think I'd slightly prefer the Saquon side, but it's totally fair. Yeah. 8-man league, though, I don't know if you do really need depth in an 8-man league. I'm not so sure about that. Tad, how we doing, man? Start, sit, flex, full PPR, Hubbard, Akers, Singletary. Yeah, so it's Hubbard. It's got to be Hubbard, man. Look at his game last week. Matchup this week isn't bad either. We got a revenge game for Andy Dalton this week, guys. This is the truest of true revenge games here. The throwback Andy Dalton revenge game. It's not like the Bengals have been very good defense, guys. They just allowed over 20 points. The Commanders running backs, Pacheco had 13 points. Ramondre cooked them in week 1. Hubbard's a lock for 15-plus touches. He had, 20 carries, 21 carries last week, 5 catches. Or 5 targets. Did he catch all 5? He did. He had 26 touches last week. Yeah, we're not benching that. Definitely not. Yeah, I'm definitely benching Singletary and Dowdle. Addison versus Dowdle versus Bucky. Yeah, this one's Dowdle. Start Dowdle. I don't know how you could trust Addison in his first game back. I mean, it's basically impossible. There's not even a lock that he's playing. Is he practiced? He's already practiced this week? Practices again Thursday. So he's going to play. He's on track to play. So I guess this is let's do this comparison. Maybe I jumped too fast there too. This is half PPR 2. I do like to start the running backs. There definitely is a better floor here for Dowdle. Yeah, it's Dowdle. It's still Dowdle. Dowdle or Ford. Yeah, that one's pretty close, man. I think it's a good matchup for Ford this week. I think they get the Raiders. Oh, gosh, man. I assume there's a PPR league. I think that actually probably helps Ford a little bit. Yeah, it's Ford over Dowdle. Akers or Dowdle, I'm going Dowdle over Akers. I don't think it's a lock. I do not think it's a lock that Akers is the only running back on that backfield again. It does seem like it's trending that way, though. Panic on Mike Evans? No, I'm not panicking on Mike Evans like at all. I think Mike Evans and Godwin like pretty comparable still in my mind. Brandon Cooks or Khalil Herbert or Khalil Shakir. Sorry, Tyreek or JSN. Man, that's actually a close one. Oh man, yeah, I think I'm going Tyreek. I still have faith in Tyreek for fantasy. Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold. This one I think is Sam Darnold. I think this one's Sam Darnold over Daniel Jones. Waddle or Dowdle? Oh, man. Let's see what we got Waddle's projection at. This one's kind of tough. I have faith in Tyreek, and I don't in Waddle. And I don't know if that's fair. You know, if I have faith in Tyreek, I feel like I probably should have a little bit of faith in Waddle, too. I mean, they're not that different. Go Dowdle, man. Oh, this is half PPR, too. Definitely Dowdle. Definitely Dowdle. Yeah. How are we feeling about Mark Andrews? Yeah, we saw Mark Andrews' comment earlier here too. Not a Thursday night question, but I know that a lot of you guys are struggling with tight ends. Obviously hold. Yeah, so you're obviously right about that. What tight ends are you targeting? What waiver wire options? Elijah Higgins, fair with Kyler. Yeah, Elijah Higgins, Kyler stack, very sneaky upside stack there. Elijah Higgins, guys, was a wide receiver converted to tight end last year. He's only second year in the league, and he's had good games. You go back to last season, actually, he already scored a sick touchdown in week 2. Go back to watch that. That was his 18-yard catch here in week 2 for a touchdown. Sick play mostly by Kyler, but good catch by him too. You go back to last season, the one game where he started was week 15. 4 catches, 44 yards, and a TD for Elijah Higgins in that one. I think that was his one game with like a real – he didn't even have a real snap percentage in that game. He didn't have a single game with a real snap percentage. This is going to be his first game over 50% snap percentage in his career. But we have seen him look good, and he's a very athletic receiver. He's a receiving tight end, not a blocking tight end. Again, he's a converted receiver. And Trey McBride's had the best usage among all tight ends in the NFL. I'm not saying it's just going to be a one-to-one, handoff here to Elijah Higgins from McBride. Obviously not. And then, the matchup against the Commanders weirdly doesn't look great, but they played no tight ends, man. And Gesicki and all they did go over 14 points last week. 8 catches for them. So yeah, I like the Elijah Higgins stack a lot. He ranks as tight end 14 for us this week. I do think he's a good ad. And then in terms of tight ends I'm trying to trade for, go get TJ Hawkinson. Hawkinson shouldn't be too hard to get, depending on who has him. We have him projected back, I think, in week 7, just a few weeks. Got to wait 3 more weeks, and Hawkinson could be back. The way the Vikings offense has looked, it wouldn't be that shocking for Hawkinson to be the number 1 tight end down the stretch. I also am down to buy low on Travis Kelce. I do think Kelce can bounce back. I think we got him as a top 3 tight end rest of the season. But Hawkinson, especially if an IR slot, Hawkins is a really good stash, a really good trade for right now with how the Vikings have looked. He's got a good playoff schedule. And remember, all that matters is the fantasy playoffs. Is CeeDee Lamb going off tonight? Yeah. Laporta or Kmet? I do not think Laporta plays this week. Guys, I do not think Laporta plays. I do not think McBride plays. I do not think Evan Ingram plays, though he did get a limited practice in. A lot of these are up in the air. But yeah, I mean, not Thursday night question. Is CeeDee Lamb finally going off tonight? Yes. Andrew, you heard it here first. When we're watching it on our TV screens tonight, just remember, you heard it here first. It's not going to be surprising. This isn't the only place you could have heard it. But yeah, CeeDee Lamb's almost definitely going to pop off tonight. The Giants are without their starting nickel cornerback, and his backup is also out. The Giants' backup nickel cornerback is also out. So we're going to see a lot of CeeDee Lamb in the slot against a practice squad level player. And yeah, he's probably going to pop off. Like, I still think there's a good argument CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 1 rest of the season, even though he hasn't broken 20 points yet, even though he doesn't have a game of more than 5 catches yet. I think the only thing that's stopping CeeDee Lamb in this game is if the game is just really, really not close and the Cowboys are able to run more than they have run in recent games, because they've been dropping back and passing a lot. CeeDee Lamb, with the other problem, Duke, I got you, man. CeeDee Lamb, the only problem for him, too, he actually has been seeing a lot of double coverage, which is rare to see a lot of in the NFL. Adams or Mason at flex? Not Thursday night. Question there. Thanks for the follow, Theron. I appreciate you. Cooks or Tolbert? Yeah, I lean Brandon Cooks. I think over Tolbert. It's been Tolbert the last 2 weeks. It was Cooks in week 1. It's possible we're just seeing a passing of the torch here already. Let's look at these really quick. Yeah, man. I mean, back-to-back games under 4 points for Brandon Cooks. 2 catches, under 20 yards, both these games. The snap percentage has been fine. Consistent every week, 80% of the snaps. The route participation has been pretty consistent. He's out there running routes, but Tolbert's been the preferred guy. Tolbert in back-to-back weeks, while Cooks has gone under 4 points, Tolbert's back-to-back games over 12 points. He's out there on pretty much every snap too. Him, Cooks, CeeDee Lamb, they're out there basically every snap, with Jake Ferguson as well. The air yards have been there for him too. Target share is 10 and 22. Let's just look at the targets here for Cooks really quick. Man, yeah, I mean, I still lean Cooks slightly, but it's close, man. I mean, he's been the worst option back-to-back games. We did see a really big game from him in week 1. I guess not really big. I thought it was bigger than this, only 14.5 points. So yeah, I lean Cooks, but I think it's actually really, really close. Jaden Daniels or Stroud this weekend? Not a Thursday night question. Probably Daniels, though. Jets or Cowboys defense? Yeah, just play the Jets. Play the Jets defense. Vikings or Cowboys defense? I think I lean Cowboys over the Vikings. The Vikings defense has been great. Not the best matchup for them, though, this week. Oh, man. I don't hate this. If you can sell low on Rashad White, I honestly do not hate that. You're buying low and selling low. I think I do like this. 5 stars in the Walter Picks app. Thanks, man. Yeah, guys, tossing in the Walter Picks app, a 5-star review in the App Store. It takes you like less than 30 seconds. Actually helps us out a ton. I do really, really appreciate that. Wan'Dale's the sit because he's in the Wan'Dale Robinson role, where he gets 7 targets for 20 total air yards and finishes with under 10 points. Rashad White or Dowdle, I'll just get to that one in a second. Singletary, Devontae Evans, or Waymo Jamo. 0-3 right now. Yeah, Waymo Jamo needed Waymo last week. Start 2 Singletary. Devontae's not playing, so don't plan on starting Devontae Smith. He's out this week. Yeah, this one's Evans and Singletary, I think. Sadly, I think it's Evans and Singletary. I don't know if we can trust Waymo Jamo again this week. Kind of a tough matchup against the Seahawks defense. All right, so that question from before that I said we'd get to, I'd play Dowdle over Brandon Allen for sure. Oh, yeah, it was Rashad White or Dowdle. Let's get to this one. I think it was Rashad White. Let's compare Rashad White, Singletary, and Dowdle. So the only reason that I think you kind of just have to be trusting Rashad White in this one is Bucky Irving did practice today. There's a chance Bucky Irving doesn't even play. And even if Bucky Irving plays, like the coach came out after the last game for the Bucs, said Bucky Irving's going to earn more carries, which makes perfect sense because Rashad White has never been an efficient rusher, and that has continued this season. But Rashad White still has been a very capable receiving back, guys. So in PPR leagues, like, he's still startable for sure, especially with the Bucky Irving injury. Like, he's not going to drop below 50% of the snaps, I don't think. So yeah, I think I would go Rashad White over both these guys. I do like Singletary a little bit more than Dowdle tonight for fantasy, but it's actually pretty close. And I would argue that Dowdle actually has a higher ceiling in this matchup. A Dunze or Reed in the flex. You got to see if Jordan Love's playing. That's a Sunday morning live question. Hey, Sam, appreciate your lives. They really help. I was wondering, should I trade Keon Coleman and Christian Kirk for Tyreek Hill? Happy PR. Timothy, thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate the kind words. And yes, do this trade. Definitely do this trade. Keon Coleman can't be started in fantasy any week. The Bills are spreading the ball around so much that you just can't start him. I think he had one catch for a touchdown last game. Yeah, not a game over 10 points. He's barely playing. I guess he didn't play at the start of the last game because he was late to something or something. I think they said that on the broadcast. He still scored a touchdown, but yeah, I mean, there's just no floor really for Keon Coleman at all. We saw it week 2, he had 0 points. The Bills want to run the ball, and they spread the ball around a ton. So yeah, no, I don't want Keon Coleman. So you're basically converting Christian Kirk right into Tyreek Hill. Yes, do that. I think Tua is going to come back. It sounds like Tua is going to come back. It feels like, to me, and I understand, the moment with Tua. I was at the game. It was terrible. And people calling for him to retire, right after it happened. I get it. But it feels to me like it's become pretty clear that Tua is not retiring, that Tua plans on coming back, maybe within the next 4 to 5 games. It seems like what Tua's plan is. But people haven't really got past the whole situation, and they sort of think there's still a chance he retires. It seems like there's a really low chance he retires, guys. There's a really low chance Tua misses the whole season, it feels like. Obviously, there's still a chance. The doctors are going to have to clear him, of course. But I don't know. It just feels like people are sort of overweighting that likelihood right now, and that is a good buying opportunity in my mind for both Tyreek and Waddle. I think Tyreek still has actually a pretty good floor, too, even with Tua out. He's still going to get at least 6 or 7 half PPR points. And the ceiling to me, too, is also still there. I'm buying Tyreek Hill. I actually just did a trade for Tyreek. I gave up Terry McLaurin, and I went and got Tyreek Hill. Sam, you won me my league last year. Let's go, man. What to do with Tyreek? Yeah, we just talked through it. Yeah, keep him. Hold Tyreek. I still think he's got a massive ceiling, and I still think there's a pretty good chance Tua comes back. The only scary part with the Tua stuff is if the Dolphins just rip off, 3 or 4 straight losses and they're just out of the playoff picture, then I could see a real world where they just hold Tua out. Komet or Gesicki, not a Thursday night one. I think I'd go Komet there. Hey, Sam, I need a running back for Pacheco going down. DJ Moore for Jacobs is fair. I don't think I would do DJ Moore for J.K. Dobbins. And don't get me wrong, and Worthy, yeah. I mean, it's fair. Oh, a Worthy trade, not and Worthy. Not Xavier Worthy. A Worthy trade. But my team name with Xavier Worthy is You're Not Worthy in a couple leagues. But yeah, DJ Moore for Jacobs is a totally fair trade. I think it's very reasonable if you need a running back. I think Jacobs is a solid running back to have rest of season right now. Dobbins, I feel a little more skittish about, even though he's looked great. Don't get me wrong. Dobbins looked great. The workload has been surprising to me. I still have my concerns if Dobbins can keep this type of volume up through the whole season, just with his history. I'm almost more concerned about the sustainability of Dobbins with the workloads they're giving him. He had 75% of the carries last week. Gus Edwards is not it. They just have no depth behind him at all. Kamani Vidal maybe will get some run at some point. But can J.K. Dobbins really sustain a 65% snap share through the rest of the season? We've never seen him go through a full healthy season, guys. But he's been great when he's out there. I mean, he had a pretty good game, honestly, against a really good Steelers defense. Not a great matchup for him this week. But yeah, I definitely prefer Josh Jacobs to him for sure. So yeah, I'd go DJ Moore there. I did a trade to get Tyreek Hill. Let's see this one. I got Tyreek, Achane, and Ayuk for Jefferson, Monty, Smith, and Ridley. Oh, man, I don't love getting Tyreek and Achane on the same team. That's just a lot of systemic risk in kind of an already risky situation. You gave up the best player in the trade with Jefferson. Monty's been pretty good. I think you might have got fleeced there. I wouldn't say fleeced. Again, I wouldn't say fleeced because, again, I'm kind of in on buying Tyreek right now. It's a risk, and I think you got to take some risks to win your leagues, ultimately. If Tua comes back, you clearly won the trade. I also think buying low on Ayuk, I actually miss Ayuk here. Ayuk is also, I think, a pretty good buy low right now. I think people are kind of sleeping on what Ayuk is, which is a high-end wide receiver too. Ayuk versus Devontae Smith rest of the season, pretty close actually. Wouldn't shock me if it ends up being Ayuk. And then Ridley, definitely I prefer Ayuk over Ridley. So fair trade. I don't love the Tyreek Achane stack. I have that in one of my leagues too. I actually have that in the league I traded Tyreek for. But yeah, I think giving up Jefferson right now, so it doesn't feel great. Start Dowdle or Madison PPR? 2-1. Yes, Dowdle. Go Dowdle over Madison for sure. Was this a bad trade? Likely Jennings, Ridley for Puka, Brooks, and Godwin. No, this is a fantastic, fantastic trade. This is probably one of the biggest fleeces I've actually seen. You got the 3 best players in the trade. What was this person doing? They clearly didn't use the Walter picks. Let's compare this one in the trade analyzer just to show you guys how big of a fleece this is from the YouTube live. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. Smash the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. Hit the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok. We got a fantastic Thursday night game on our TV screens in a little more than an hour. But while we wait, man, let's just admire this fleecing here. I mean, Jennings, just had one of the greatest receiver games of all time. But he's obviously not this like long-term fantasy asset this season. There's just a lot of injuries. Puka Nacua is going to come back at some point, probably well before the fantasy football playoffs. Jonathan Brooks is coming back very, very soon. He has league-winning upside. And then Godwin's been a top 5 receiver in fantasy this season. I mean, man, this one's not close. I mean, I honestly think like Ridley versus Puka, Ridley versus Brooks, I might prefer both those guys the rest of the season because I think both those guys are more likely to win your fantasy league in the playoffs. See when we have Puka Nacua projected to come back here. Yeah, we got to project back week 8. Maybe we're a little bit optimistic there, but as long as he's back before week 15, I like it. And then Jonathan Brooks is going to probably be back week 5. Yeah, we got him back week 5. And we got him smashing here after the bye in the fantasy playoffs. We've seen the Panthers just feed their running backs. And if Andy Dalton makes this a real offense, Brooks could be a top 10 running back in fantasy. Absolutely possible. So, yeah, this is a fantastic, fantastic trade. And you can tell when you see trades like this and you think about like how people fleecing like this, it's because of the tight end position. They're looking at their tight end slot and they're seeing, 1 point from Hunter Henry and they're making trades. And you can really take advantage of people in those situations. All right, we're going to do subscriber in the comment mode here on the TikTok live. Make sure I get to the subscriber chat as always into the last 5-10 minutes of this live stream now. Again, the free player prop of the day, it is Rico Dowdle over 40.5 rushing yards. Like this one a lot. The Giants have allowed almost 25% of the runs against the Giants have gained 10 or more yards. That is the highest rate in the NFL. Dak Prescott has won 12 consecutive games against the New York Football Giants. I think it'll be 13 tonight. I'm honestly pretty surprised that they aren't favored by more points in this game. Let's go to the game betting tool here in the app. I was pretty shocked, honestly, to see this. They're only 5-point favorites against the Giants. I get the Cowboys haven't been great this season. I get the Giants are coming off a couple good and close games. But man, I was a little surprised to see that they were only favored by this much. I get it's in New York too. You usually get 3 points. Guys, there's not an offense scoring more points per game than the Cowboys. Not a single team. The Giants offense, they rank 30th in points per game. Look at this. Look at this comparison. The offense crushes the Giants offense in literally every single metric. They have more points per game, more yards per game, more passing yards per game, more rushing yards per game, better third down conversion rate by a ton. Red zone conversion rate, way better. Plays per game, better. Turnover rate, better. Sack percentage, almost more than twice as good. The Giants have been sacked more than any team in the league, guys, percentage-wise. That's why the Cowboys are a good play. And then you look at the defense, and the Cowboys' defense is also better than the Giants' defense in almost every single metric that counts. I don't know how they're only favored by this much. So, yeah, I like the Cowboys in this game a lot, especially considering Dak's won 12 straight. Especially considering this is probably the most efficient rushing game for the Cowboys from the season. And they were just due for a CeeDee Lamb blow up. Why not against a banged up Giants secondary? Start Dowdle or Hubbard? Yeah, it's got to be Hubbard. Yeah, so the free prop, Aaron Nasty, it's Rico Dowdle over 40.5 rushing yards. I do like the Tyrone Tracy receiving stuff a little bit tonight too. He was like the most involved he's been this season last week. Neighbors, Evans, Kamara, PPR. Yeah, I think this is Neighbors. You got to start Neighbors tonight. Don't put him in your flex, by the way. Put him in your receiver slot, and then wait to see what happens with Kamara because Kamara didn't practice today. He didn't practice today, which is a little scary after a huge workload for Kamara. But yeah, it's probably going to be Kamara and Neighbors there over Evans. Let me just read the news here. Oh, he returned to practice. He's fine. Yeah, so I would go Neighbors in Kamara and PPR there. Thanks for the follow, McCurt. Appreciate it. All right, just to recap here, start Malik Neighbors, start CeeDee Lamb, start Jake Ferguson, start Brandon Aubrey, start the Cowboys defense. Not much discussion needed with any of those. The fringe start, Singletary, decent floor in this matchup. Cowboys have not been great against running backs. I don't think there's a super high ceiling for Singletary, but the floor is fine. Dak, he's an okay option. He's QB 10 this week. I think you know which quarterbacks to start over him and which guys not to. I can run through it really quick. I do think this list is like kind of obvious though, so I'll do it super quick. The quarterbacks I'm playing over Dak, I guess the only two that aren't maybe super obvious, I'm playing Geno over Dak. I'm playing Burrow over Dak. All the other ones, Mahomes over Dak, Hurts, Stroud, Lamar, Jaden Daniels, Kyler, Allen, those are easy. Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, one of these guys will probably be relevant this week, and the other one's going to get under 5 points. That's what it's been every game so far this season. It's one or the other. Cooks was the guy week 1. Tolbert was the guy week 2 and 3. I lean Cooks over Tolbert if I have to decide, but man, it's close. Do not start Zeke tonight, guys. Zeke is completely washed. It is a good matchup for Zeke, and he still can't be started, which to me, that's a droppable player in fantasy. What is the ceiling story for Zeke? Because for me, it's always about the ceiling. That's what wins fantasy football. I didn't answer this question. It's a Amari Cooper, Garrett Wilson question. Not a Thursday night question. It's Thursday night. I'm going to be live Sunday morning. I will get to these CMC thoughts. I do think I'd probably lean towards Amari this week, though, with the matchup for the Jets this week. Zeke is completely washed. Even if Dowdle got hurt, like what's the real ceiling for Zeke? I think, we will see the true ceiling for Zeke tonight. I don't expect it to be much, but even if he has a good game, I'm probably going to explain it away with the Giants matchup. And then we got Wan'Dale, he's in the Wan'Dale role. There's no real ceiling for Wan'Dale. Even in a game where the Giants could be playing from behind because he gets no air yards. All of his targets are right near the line of scrimmage, just not a super exciting ceiling for him. Daniel Jones, you can start Daniel Jones if you have Anthony Richardson, but there's other better options than Daniel Jones. I think he's going to get sacked a ton in this game. Darius Slayton, well off the radar. Theo Johnson's running wind sprints. Tyrone Tracy, I'm excited about, but he's off the fantasy radar. Pick up Akers or Dowdle. Yes, I actually prefer Dowdle over Akers. Dowdle has more rest of season value, and I don't know if Akers is going to be the standalone starter this week or not. Dameon Pierce and Mixon do still have a chance to play. They haven't practiced yet, so it's looking like they're not going to play, but they still could play. All right, I'll wrap up with some Christian McCaffrey thoughts here because, by the way, if you haven't joined the Discord yet, I do not know what you're waiting for. The Walter Picks Discord, it's free to be in there, and there's subscriber-only channels in the Walter Picks Discord, too, for the Walter Picks subscribers. It's so valuable to be in there. I'm in there talking constantly, basically all day. The link to the Discord is in the YouTube description. If you're watching live on TikTok, to get to the YouTube live is in the TikTok bio. Or get a TikTok live subscriber question here. ETN, Moss, Mondre, Singletary. Yeah, it's Moss. God, and I think it's Mondre. Etienne versus Mondre. I think it's Mondre. Yeah, it is. And I played all those guys over Singletary. Let's talk about Christian McCaffrey here for a second, though, because I think it's a super, super interesting situation, obviously, for McCaffrey, who was, complete bust, obviously, with the first overall pick. Right now, we're projecting McCaffrey to come back in the Walter Picks app. We're projecting him back in week 12. The only thing I really care about, though, is that he's back, before week 15. I just need him back before week 15. That's when the fantasy football playoffs start. And I just think people generally underrate the importance of the fantasy football playoffs over all the other weeks. This is how we set up the game, guys. We don't make up the rules, but if you lose in week 15, your season's done. I can take a loss in week 10 and 11 and 12 and still win my fantasy league. I can't take a loss in week 15 or 16 and still win my league. And if Christian McCaffrey is back for those weeks, guys, you're going to want him on your fantasy teams. You're going to want him. So I'm personally buying Christian McCaffrey, especially on my teams where I have a lead, a 3-0 start, a 4 or 5-0 start. I don't need to go aggressively buying him, but as the season goes on and if it becomes more and more clear that there's a good chance he comes back, and I do think he's going to be back. I personally think he's going to be back before the fantasy football playoffs. I could be wrong about that. Obviously, there's a wide range of outcomes here. There's a possibility he's just cooked, for good. I was just talking about a trade in a dynasty league. Like, what do we think about his dynasty value? I'm not as scared about that, but I mean, you got to be a little bit concerned. Anyways, I personally think I'm buying the panic. If people are panicking on McCaffrey, I don't think he's going to play. I want anything I could possibly get. especially if you're 0-3, 0-4, which some of those CMC teams are going to be 0-3 and 0-4 and 0-5. I'm going to be jumping all over that because again, I think he's going to be playing before the fantasy football playoffs. And in the fantasy football playoffs, I'm going to have a Christian McCaffrey led team that wins my league. All right, that's my time. Enjoy the game tonight. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Thanks for spending some time with me tonight. I do think the Cowboys defense, I actually like the Raiders defense more than the Cowboys defense, but I like the Cowboys defense more than the Dolphins defense. Have a good one, guys. I don't think I would do this one. No, I wouldn't do this trade. I wouldn't do this trade. I would play Neighbors over Wilson for sure. It's a little crazy at it to play Wilson over Jawan Jennings. All right, that's my time, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll be back live, of course, Sunday morning. I'm playing Singletary over Dobbins.